This is a Dell Studio 540, an old desktop PC from the Windows Vista era at least. This PC was just sitting in a closet as the original owner, my brother, upgraded to a new PC that kind of looked like someone took an office PC and whispered gaming PC and called it a day. I want to see if I could at least get Windows installed and running and see how painful it is to run Windows 10 on over a decade old hardware. The specs of this PC were kind of good at the time. I have no idea. It has an Intel Core 2 Quad Q8200. It's supposed to have 6 gigs of RAM, but only 5 gigs work. And it used to have an ATI Radeon HD 5450, but I threw in a GTX 1650 in there because I could not get the HDMI cable to plug in, nor did I bother to plug in a DVI cable into the DVI port. You'll see why later. It has a DVD drive and no hard drive, but I decided to throw in an SSD since I didn't have any other full-size hard drives, nor did I want to take out the hard drive out of my PC. But first, let's do some maintenance. I wiped down the PC using some Purell wipes, but I forgot to record that. Then I removed the cooler and got rid of the rather crusty and dried up thermal paste, and then repasted the CPU and put the cooler back on. I then wiped down every surface of this PC, though I couldn't really get some of the what looks like adhesive residue out, but I was able to get the paint out. Now it's time to put the side panel on. Oh wait, how was I supposed to attach the side panel? I stole one of the thumb screws from what was my main PC and the SSD and graphics card and put those in the PC and used the thumb screw to attach the side panel onto the Dell. That was probably a mistake. I unplugged my main PC and took the HDMI cable from my second monitor and tried to plug it in. I noticed that the HDMI cable didn't entirely go into the port because there was a piece of metal that was blocking the part of the PCIe area of the case. I booted the PC and it gave me 5 beeps. The hell? I searched up online and thought this was a graphics card issue, but seeing the footage I recorded when I got the PC to display something, it was a CMOS battery error. I didn't need to replace the GPU anyway, but I did. So after throwing the GTX 1650 in there, I tried again and I got no display, but I did get it to display something when I plugged in an HDMI to DVI cable into the DVI port in the GTX 1650 because that was actually not blocked by that piece of metal. And I finally got it to display something. I did get the same 5 beeps again, but I just ignored it. The issues didn't stop there. The first time I booted it up, the Windows install on the SSD didn't work since I had last used it on a UEFI system, and this PC has a normal BIOS. However, I didn't have a USB drive that I could use to install Windows on this PC since I lost that one. I didn't want to use my external hard drive since it was also formatted for a UEFI system, and I probably would have had to format the entire drive to convert it to MDR. So I bought another USB drive. 3 days and a USB drive later, I finally threw a Windows installer and tried to install Windows. I booted the PC up and tried to install Windows, but I saw the Windows logo only for it to go to a black screen shortly after. I went into the BIOS, which I didn't record footage for again, and changed the boot priority to the USB drive. Then I tried to boot the PC again and got the exact same thing again. 2 minutes after, I was greeted with the PC actually booting into the setup. And I was finally able to go through the entire process of setting up Windows. And then I went into the hard drive and used the drivers I used for my main PC to install the NVIDIA drivers for this graphics card. This was older drivers, but honestly I didn't really care since I didn't know if I was going to use this PC for long term. And then I installed Firefox. So after that, the PC very much sounded like a jet engine. And the CPU was getting close to 100% usage with a few apps open. When I went into Task Manager and looked at how much RAM this PC had, I noticed that there was only 5 gigs of RAM that actually worked compared to how much RAM this originally had. I also noticed it had DDR2 RAM, and looking at a website with the original specs, the max amount of RAM this PC can probably support is 8 gigs, so no throwing in the DDR3 RAM from my previous main PC into here. Setting everything up Desktop usage was somewhat painful. It felt like using my first real desktop PC that didn't have a Pentium D in it. Web browsing was alright, but playing YouTube videos wasn't really that great. It looked alright most of the time, but it would sometimes drop frames. I downloaded H.264 to make it a bit better, but it didn't really make that much of a difference unless I'm dumb and I'm missing an important step after installing it. Please comment down below about it if I did. I played some audio and some videos using VLC, and I mean, it was good. After that, I went back to my main PC and I haven't used the Dell since. This PC was a complete emotional roller coaster, especially when I was trying to figure out how to get this PC to boot and how to get Windows installed. I probably would have done some gaming benchmarks on this PC since I threw in the GTX 1650 in here, but I might save that for a future video since I feel like this one should be about getting the PC working. Tell me what games I should use and probably buy so I don't just do a PC trying to get working video or whatever. And with that, thank you guys for watching. Subscribe so I could pay to go to prom or whatever, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.